Welcome, folks. It's Talkin' Baseball. This is Season 7, Episode 5. Talkin' Baseball's with Jason Smith and Pete Lincoln.
Hello.
Filmed by Lunenburg Public Access in the Passios Building in beautiful downtown Lunenburg by Joe McLaughlin with our producer, Debbie Lincoln.
And today we come to you from the sweltering TV studio at the TC Passios School. This July has been either 100 degrees or rainy, and we picked a 100-degree day to do the show. So pardon us if we seem a little hot and parched doing this. So if you're interested, if you're a fan of our show and you want to see some of our past shows, you can do that. We have 55 previous shows, believe it or not. If you go to YouTube and search for Lunenburg Public Access, under Lunenburg Access, you'll find a playlist for Talkin' Baseball, where you can find all our past shows, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We haven't had too many ugly, I don't think. No. They've been mostly good.
And they're all in files, and you're welcome to go back and see when we first started out in the basement of our house.
Right, yes. So if there's something you want to binge watch this baseball season, go right ahead.
55 hours of fantastic
55, it puts us even with like Breaking Bad and The Sopranos for 55 hours, right?
I've got a couple of big shout-outs before we even start out the show.
Right.
You see this shirt I'm wearing? This was given to me by Gordon Eads when I retired in 2002 as a gift. And I believe I have worn this shirt for all of the 55 shows. Mm-hmm. This past week, I had it dry cleaned.
Oh, I thought the studio smelled a little fresher today.
So for the first time, you're seeing this shirt in its pristine state.
Pristine state.
The other thing happened last Sunday, one of my happiest moments I've ever been watching a ball game.
Oh, yes.
We have the baseball channel, which means we watch all the games at all the time. And I was watching the Yankees play the
Astros.
The Angels.
Was it the Angels or Astros? Astros. Yes.
The Yankees had Astros game. And the Yankees had won the first two games. And it looked like they were starting to perk up in the standings. And they were leading 7-2 going into the last of the ninth. And 2 or 3 runs were scored. And they showed a shot.
It's Altuve. It was Altuve.
Jose Altuve had beaten them in a playoff game 2 years ago with a home run.
Right.
And they showed that shot, and he proceeded to beat them in this game currently, and so they scored 6 runs in the last of the night to beat the Yankees. You could hear my shouts of joy echoing back and forth on Hickory Hills until it got done.
We were shouting in Drake it equally loud, trust me. It was a great moment of joy in the household, because we're Red Sox fans, and when the Red Sox aren't on, we root for the Yankees to lose. That's right. Just what you do. And sometimes the Yankees losing in catastrophic ways is just as much fun as a Red Sox win.
It's the first time they had given up 6 runs in the last of the ninth since 1980.
Well, Chapman's been so horrible, they didn't use him, so they brought in someone else, and he proceeded to give up 6 runs.
We just have to mention that because a couple of exciting things, the shirt and the win.
It was a great way to go into the All-Star break.
That's right.
We are coming to you the day after the All-Star game, by the way, so we have that'll be one of our topics for today's discussion, the All-Star game that's fresh in our minds.
So, Jake, why don't you start off today? We got a few minor things we need to talk about that have occurred during this past month.
So this one just happened yesterday, in fact. It was announced by Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, that 2 of our bugaboo rules that we've been complaining about for the last couple years are going to disappear.
Yes.
There is going to be no 7-inning doubleheaders, and there will be no runner on second in extra innings. Thank God. I mean, don't get me wrong. We are not some of these purist guys who doesn't think the game should evolve. We've always advocated for evolving in certain ways of the game. These 2 should have been right from the start. And baseball fans have turned on Manfred. If you watched the draft on Monday when the Red Sox were making their picks, every time he went to the podium, boo! The whole place just booed him.
I didn't realize how much he was disliked.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I don't pay much attention to Rob Manfred.
Right. I don't
for any particular reason. He made these strange rules last year supposedly because of COVID.
Right.
You can't get many people together. Don't keep them together too long.
Right.
Under also the guise of trying to shorten the games.
Right.
But they were just...
They were silly.
They were
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
They were really silly.
But they booed him unmercifully, and when he appear to the field in the All-Star game.
Oh yeah,
they booed him
he
again.
gave Guerrero the MVP award. Boo! You could hear the whole place booing him. So I think he heard loud and clear what the fans' opinions of the rules
We
were.
usually don't watch the baseball draft,
Right.
Because unlike football and basketball, the players drafted don't immediately become pros.
Right. And it's also very rare that the Red Sox have a high pick, which they did this year
This was
for once.
the highest pick they've had since '65, I
Right,
think.
right.
And they picked the shortstop.
Yeah.
Now it kills me. How do you decide with all the high schools in the country?
Right.
How do you pick somebody that's going to be?
Well, somebody gets paid big bucks to watch high school
I
kids,
guess.
I guess.
Well, it's mostly from California.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, California and
But
Texas.
They
yeah.
picked a shortstop, and,
Right.
and people say, well, why do they pick a shortstop when they got Bogarts? Because in the draft, you pick the best available athlete.
Absolutely. Mookie Betts got drafted as a second baseman, and now he's a Gold Glove
best
outfielder.
available athlete.
Yep. The thinking is that the athletes are going to be able to shift to pretty much any position you want them to go to.
And possibly this guy would be ready in 3 or 4 years.
At most.
Maybe
At most.
Bogarts will be shifted.
Maybe Bogart's ship
to
has
first
sailed.
base.
Right, yeah, of course. Right,
Sure.
exactly. Or maybe you shift him to second or third base or something like that. So, yeah, absolutely. You always take the best all-around athlete. Well, unless it's a pitcher, obviously. But if it's a non-pitcher, you take the best
And
available
pitcher's
guy.
also a crapshoot because, he may
absolutely.
not survive.
Absolutely. I remember the Yankees drafted this guy, Brian Taylor, one year. Remember, and he held out for $1 million, I think it was, to be picked in the first round. And he pitched 2 seasons in the minors, broke his arm, and never pitched in the majors.
Remember
So-
Rose and Pavano.
Oh, right, yeah. Rose and Pavano are going to be our saviors.
And
Rose,
Rose never pitched, and
Yeah.
Pavano went to
yeah.
Tampa Bay.
he bounced around everywhere.
The Yankees
yeah.
paid big bucks for him, and he stunk.
And he stunk. Yeah, I think he got about a 10-year career, but he was sort of a mediocre,
not for us.
middle of the rotation guy. You're right. I think Rose was up for one season, part of a season, and that was it.
That was
so,
it.
Yeah.
So about the All-Star game, American League won.
Yes,
That's
8 in a row.
something-
8 in a row for the American League.
What would you say were the pros and cons of the All-Star game? The whole situation around that.
You know, I like. First off, people forget that the All-Star game is an exhibition. It's supposed to be a promotion of the big stars of the game. So I don't mind that they went all gaga over Ohtani and Guerrero and guys like that. I think that's a good thing because you want to promote the stars of the game, especially since Trout wasn't there. I mean, Trout's the best player in baseball, so they had to promote somebody else. So Ohtani, Guerrero, and a lot of the other guys, they were perfect guys to pump up. So I think that was a pro, is that they had, and like Tatis is another one.
Right.
They had a lot of really good young talent that got voted to the first team.
Right.
And that's really difficult too because, I grew up in the era where every year it was Cal Ripken at short, Wade Boggs at third, Don Mattingly at first. Like no matter how they did, they'd put him in. It's good to see that the good young talent, a guy like Teoscar Hernandez from the Blue Jays got voted in.
That's right.
I think that's great that a talent on a smaller market team that he gets recognized as a starting guy. So I think that was a good thing that there was a ton of young talent on display there.
My favorite pro was miking up the players
yes.
while they were playing.
I loved it.
So here's Freddie Freeman at first, and he's trying to catch a ball over his head, and they're asking him questions. But my favorite thing of it all was when they brought in.
Oh yeah,
they brought in the final relief.
Liam
pitcher,
Hendricks.
He was the wrong person to mic up.
Yeah, I think
because
so.
in every pitch, there would be an expletive that was very clear.
Yeah, right. And he'd grunt and he'd get all upset and they foul the ball off.
He laid F-bombs and S-bombs and
everything. But I liked it too. Like it's somebody like they mic'd up Ozzie Albies for one inning. Yeah. Talk about a dynamic guy who was right in the middle of things and having a hell of a time just being part of the game. Right. I agree. I thought that was terrific. That you really, and my wife was watching it with me too, and she's a casual fan. She's not fanatic like us. And she said, "I really like this. I got to know a lot of the people that I never knew before."
I really like what they do with Chris Bryant.
Yes,
he's playing left field for a change,
right.
And they're talking about how do you know where to play in such a big field. He says, "I look for where the grass is dead."
Yes, I saw it. Is that great?
But that's a nice insight.
It is. It really is.
Because the
Yeah.
grass is dead. That's where
Right.
you think
Yep.
guys would play.
Yep.
So you got a lot of chance to hear what's going on inside these guys' heads as they
Right.
play. And most of them are having a hell of a time.
Yeah, they were.
You know?
And I think another pro is that people rag on the announcers, and you can think about Joe Buck what you want. I thought Smoltz did a terrific job.
Yeah,
I
me
thought he
too.
was very insightful, especially when Barnes came in and he said, "Oh, I don't know how Barnes is going to do because that curveball is going to have trouble in the thin air." And sure as heck, he got out of the inning scoreless, but they hit some balls hard off him, and you could tell that curveball was really pushing to get that over the plate. I thought Smoltz did a great job.
Well, I'm just glad it's 8 in a row.
Yes.
3 Red Sox did very well.
Yes.
Bogarts got 2 hits and knocked in a run, and
Devers got a net.
Devers got both pitches pitched. We had pitches pitched shutout innings.
Evaldi had a 10-pitch inning. He looked great.
JD struck out twice on 7 pitches. But,
Right, so we'll take 80% of the players doing okay.
we talked last show about you could go to Fenway now.
Oh, yes.
We went to Fenway at a full house finally, and there's a problem that we didn't know about. If you enter the park, you cannot carry a bag that is more than 5 inches by 9 inches by 2 inches. And that
about this big.
is nowhere explained. There's no signs. And when my wife was stopped because she has an enormous 12 by 12 bag that she lugs around with all her makeup in it,
Oh, we're getting given the finger version of the F-bomb.
she was told she couldn't bring the bag in. And fortunately, we had a friend that was willing to take it back to the car.
Right.
But if we had come by Subway, I
What
don't
do
know
you
what
do?
you would do.
What do you do? Yep.
They used to just check what's in the bag.
Absolutely. Every time my wife and I went to the game, we'd stop by the 7-Eleven and we'd get one of those like 1 gallon, 2 of those 1 gallon waters a piece, just so we'd have something to stay hydrated during the game. Well, that's bigger than the bag. I guess we can't do that now. So they want you to buy the stuff in the park.
A warning, if you're going to Fenway, be sure you don't bring a big bag or a knapsack because you won't be able to take it in. And when you walk through the metal detector, you have to take all of your keys and your wallet out and hold them over your head as you go through. It's almost like they're checking for terrorism rather than COVID.
Right. All right.
It's not comfortable.
Right. Yeah. Once you're in the park and you're part of the crowd, it's the same thing.
Pretty much the same.
But yeah, just a warning: pack lightly if you're going to go to the game, and be prepared to spend some money because that's what they want you to do.
That's nothing different.
Yeah. Right. Right.
I have to read this one little note.
So, as all of you know, out in television land, we've spent a lot of our past years kind of giving it to Dan Shaughnessy. We think that he's what we call hate journalism. He gets people to read because he writes controversial stuff or he writes negative stuff. And that's sort of his MO is just negativity. So, did you hear what Shaughnessy said? So he'll get the clicks and people will read
Negativity,
it.
especially against the front office.
Absolutely.
Anything the front office does. Not so much the players, but the front office.
But a couple weeks ago, there was in the Boston Globe. We can't believe this. We had to see it to believe it.
July 1st.
Dan Shaughnessy actually ate crow in one of his
columns. He started out with, I got to read just these 2 or 3 paragraphs because I may never see anything like this again. Red Sox baseball boss Kane Bloom returned a phone call Tuesday, which was pretty nice of him considering that I've been driving a pipe through his ball club since he got the job 20 months ago. You might remember Tampa Bay by the Charles, the Boston Devil Rays, the worst Sox deal Mookie Betts to the Dodgers since Harry Fuzzy sold Babe Ruth to the Yankees, the joke of payroll flexibility, the worst outfield in Red Sox history, Fangraph's idiotic projection of 89 wins, sneaky good mockery, Sox bound for irrelevance, Sox are fool's gold. That's what he said. So here we are at the midpoint of the 2021 baseball season, and the Sox are in first place, own the second best record in baseball, and are on pace to win 98 to 100 games. I invited Kime to take a victory lap around my giant head.
Yes. Finally, Dan
Dan
Shaughnessy has eaten
Shaughnessy
crow.
apologizes. You see it here. I'm saving this for posterity.
It may never happen again, folks. But, let's talk about, I mean, we talk about negative journalism. We just described what that is. Why would you do that? How could you not be positive about this year's team? And even if they're not going to be great, isn't it in your best interest to get fans excited to watch the team?
Right.
I mean, they're exceeding every expectation. I mean, I think any reasonable fan this year would have been happy with like a third place 84 win kind of season, bridge into next year. And now they're on pace to win 100 games. How do you not get excited about that?
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. But how do you not be excited about that? How can you write negatively about that? And I think finally he painted himself into a corner.
That's right.
And there was no way to talk his
did.
way out of it.
That's right.
I mean, how can you be negative about this year's team? I mean,
It's like biting the hand that feeds you.
It really
to me.
is.
And he's been made his whole career that way.
it really is. And if you go online and you look up under the Boston Red Sox or Nesson page, there are people that can pull, Andrees stinks. Oh, Santana stinks. Well, you know what? That's the 13th pitcher on the staff and the last guy on your bench. Yeah. If that's who you're complaining about, your team's doing pretty well, wouldn't you say? I mean, it's really.
So one other just little item, sticky stuff.
Oh, yes.
Sticky stuff. They have such precise instruments now that they can measure the spin rate of a ball. And they can tell how many times it would spin in a minute.
It's like 1,000 revolutions in a minute or something like that.
And the rate has gone up dramatically this year. Now, the way to make it spin is to get a better grip on the ball. So either you have to have phenomenally strong fingers,
right,
or coat your fingers with something that will adhere and make it spin more.
Right.
So they decided there must be some, and they discovered some kind of, I forget what it's called.
It's some ticky-tack substance that goes on your hand.
You use your hand. And so they decided to, after each inning, investigate a pitcher's hand, glove, and belt.
Everything else.
Pretty much frisk him as he comes off the mound.
Right. And the pitchers are none too happy about it. And let me stress is that the hitters are okay with you having a substance on your hand because some pitchers use pine tar. And the hitters have always said, if you're throwing 100, I want you to be able to control the pitch. So it's not about speed. They don't care about pine tar with speed. It's the spin rate of the ball. Right. So let's stress that this isn't the hitters complaining about good pitching.
It's almost comical to watch them, especially if a pitcher gets knocked out of the game and he's walking off the field and he stops and the umpire takes his glove and looks at it, takes his hat. He says, if I was using sticky stuff, I'd still be pitching.
Right. I wouldn't have given up 7 runs.
Butt handed to me.
And the umpires aren't happy about it, and the players aren't. Sergio Romo, I think, took his pants down. He just dropped his pants.
Pulled the Steve Lyons.
Yeah, right. He said, "Here you go." And the pitch. And defending the players again, the pitchers. And if you've watched Garrett Richards, he's been very vocal about this. The Sox pitcher. It's not so much that it's a change, it's that it's a change in mid-season.
Right.
That's their issue with this, is that one start I was allowed to use this, the next start I wasn't. You have to give us an adjustment period. You can't just throw it at us on June 1st and expect the pitchers to be okay with this and adjust on the fly.
Rob Manfred.
Yeah, there you go. Yet another unpopular decision by him. So I think if he'd waited till the off-season to do that, it wouldn't be nearly the big deal that it is right now.
Well, we'll see.
So we'll find that out. But yeah, if you ever watch a game and you see them checking the guy coming off the mound, that's the reason. They're checking for sticky stuff. Oh.
Now, Red Sox fans, throughout all the time I follow them, fall in love with all 25 players.
Yes.
Every single one of them.
Keep this guy. Keep this guy. Keep this guy. Keep this guy.
Don't get rid of this guy.
Yeah.
And so we thought it might be kind of interesting to take 5 recent departures from the Sox that were all favorites.
Right, yeah.
And see how they're doing now.
Right.
Okay? So we're going to start with Brock Holt.
Oh, Brock Holt. Everybody. Oh, don't get rid of Brock Holt. He's such a great clubhouse. The Brock star. He's a clubhouse guy, and he's a utility guy, and he's super valuable, and all this stuff. And people freaked when Brock Holt didn't return.
So he is now with Texas this season. These are up-to-date stats as of the date of this show.
Right.
The day after the All-Star game.
Yep, right.
He's had 155 at-bats with 33 hits. He's hitting .213 with 2 home runs.
Big deal. That's not very good.
How many guys have we got on the team now better than that?
Almost everyone.
They're not missing him at all.
No.
Okay. Mitch Moreland is now playing for Oakland. He's been hurt, but he's had 160 at bats, and he's hitting 238 with 6 homers.
Right. So
238 with 6 homers.
right, and he's been injured, so
And he's making $2.5 million.
right.
3, Heath Hembry
Right.
is with the Reds. Now he's followed kind of a wandering path.
Yeah, right,
He's
yeah.
2-4 with an ERA of 4.81 with 6 saves. Who is he better on than us current crew?
He'd be the 11th, 12th guy on the current bullpen.
And these are the two I want to bring attention to.
Right.
Jackie Bradley.
Oh, my
Oh,
goodness.
Jackie Bradley, the greatest fielder in the history of the Red Sox, who didn't hit very well, but did okay.
Twice a week made a phenomenal catch. And
he currently is playing with the Brewers, who are way in first place, by the way.
Right.
He's hitting 167.
Ouch.
Let me repeat that. He's hitting 167.
Ouch.
44 hits and 264 at bats. He's being paid $11 million.
$11 million.
$11 million. 167. When he was hitting 210 with us, we were upset.
Right, yeah, imagine. And that's with a pitcher hitting behind him, too.
That's right.
So, good Lord.
And now the key one.
Right.
Mookie Betts.
Mookie Betts.
Which, as Shaughnessy said, was the worst deal since getting rid of Babe Ruth.
Right.
Mookie Betts this year is hitting 256 with 38 RBIs and 13 homers. He was traded for Alex Verdugo, who is hitting 278, that's 22 points higher, with 36 RBIs, that's 2 behind Betts, and 9 homers, which is 4 behind Betts.
Right. But
The difference
here's the key.
here's the key. Mookie is making $33 million this year, and Verdugo is making $500,000.
Right.
He's making 66 times more
66 times more.
for 4 extra homers.
For basically the same production. And the thing about, and I'm not ragging on Mookie here, he's a great player, but I don't remember any one of those homers or RBIs being big hits for the Dodgers this year. He's been sort of a bully hitter, to be honest with you. Last week they scored 20 runs in a game. He had a grand slammer and 6 ribbies in that game. Well, it's a 20-1 game. I mean, come on.
He is no longer the superstar.
No, and not even on that team. I think Bellinger's the superstar on that, and Kershaw.
But it was like the team would never recover from that deal.
Yeah, getting rid of Mookie.
And who's
was
Verdugo? Who's ever heard of him?
Yeah, well,
and they have parallel seasons so far.
And I think,
and he also, by the way, has 4 assists to Mookie's 1.
yes, and I think his contributions go beyond that because he's been a huge spark plug for the team too. I think he's always hustles. He's always in a good mood. He's always chatting it up on the bases with everyone. He seems like exactly the kind of guy you'd want to have in your clubhouse. He really
So I'd
does.
say that those 5 players, God bless them, but we have been able to get along pretty well without
I think
them.
we have. And don't forget, part of the Mookie deal was also Connor Wong, who just made his major league debut last week. Potential backup catcher of the future, which is, it's a position the Sox need. I mean, you'd always have to have a backup catcher. And Downs is still in the minor leagues. We haven't even gotten a look at him yet. So I think Kine did pretty well on these trades.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for trivia.
Oh, yes. This leads into our...
On our show, we've always had a trivia question. We've turned it over to Stump Jason.
Stump me.
Ken Jennings of Baseball Trivia. And since we're talking about third baseman this year, this year's too.
Well, this year's show, it's the same thing.
What third baseman has played the most games at third in the history of baseball?
Oh, most career games at third base?
Most career games at third.
Okay,
that's the
I
question.
think I have a pretty good idea.
Of course he does.
I think I have a pretty good idea of who it is.
What third baseman has played the most games at third in the history of baseball?
I think I know what it is. We'll discuss that later. So that leads into our third baseman.
Go and explain about that.
So if you've never watched the show before, what we decided to do this year is every show we would take a position. And we've talked about Hall of Fame voting in the past and our issues with it. And we decided to each pick someone who should be a Hall of Famer at every position. And so we've gone right around the diamond. We started a catcher. And this show, we're going to focus on third baseman.
Third baseman.
So these are two third basemen who should be in the Hall of Fame. And there were a lot of good choices because for some odd reason, third base has the least of any position in the Hall of
strange.
Fame. And who knows why that is?
I think I know. I think because third basemen usually shift other positions.
Oh, true. That's
So they
true.
play third base for a while,
Right.
then they shift to first.
That's
or they
true.
shift to the outfield.
Right.
To have the physical stamina
Right.
to stay at that hot corner
Right.
for a long period
That's
of time
true.
is
That's
pretty
a
unusual.
good, that's a
That's
good,
what I
good
would guess.
observation, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'll start off.
You gonna do yours? All right.
And this is another gimme. Adrian Beltre.
Hey,
Adrian Beltre.
love Adrian.
Adrian is a guarantee.
Love Adrian.
First or second round. In fact, he has played the second most games at third base.
Has he really? Oh,
Second
wow.
most games
right.
in third.
Right. Wow.
If that's
Huh.
any kind of a hint.
Wow.
He played 21 seasons, 7 with the Dodgers, 8 with Texas, 1 with Boston, and 5 with Seattle. 3,166 hits.
That's awesome.
477 home runs, 286 batting average, 4 All-Star games, 5 Gold Gloves, 4 Silver Sluggers. He's the first Dominican to reach 3,000 hits.
Right. Yes.
First
That's
one.
right.
And he ranks 13th all time in WAR.
Right. Yeah.
All
All
time.
time. Any position in war. But don't rub his head.
This is kind of an unfortunate thing. In 2009, the 1 year he played,
Yes, right.
he was responsible for 2 Red Sox serious injuries.
Yes, he was. That's
He
right.
ran into
That's right.
Jacoby Ellsbury and
right.
Jeremiah Hermedia, and both of them, one of them had broken ribs and the other had a broken something or
Yeah,
other.
the three of them converged at once, and he took both of them out in one shot. I remember that. But don't rub his head. He had this thing where you couldn't rub his head, and they'd sneak up on him and do it, and rub his head, and he'd freak out.
He punched them.
Yeah, for some reason that was the thing.
Stay
with
away
him.
from my eyes.
But I think that fantastic pick. Beltre was a 5-tool player.
Yeah.
He hit for power, hit for average. He took his walks. He was a great fielder, and he was a fun guy in the clubhouse too. Every team he was on, they raved about what a leader he was, especially to younger Latin players. Yeah. He was very, very, very much a leader for them.
One last kind of interesting fact: he's one of 5 players, just 5 players, to hit 100 home runs with 3 different teams.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
Darrell Evans, Reggie Jackson, A-Rod, and Jim Thome.
Really?
Yeah.
Darrell Evans did it. Wow, that might have been a stumper. Wow, Darrell Evans.
So, folks, there's a trivia question.
There's a trivia
Ask
question
your
for
friends,
you.
See what they know.
He was just someone who it was fun to watch him. It was just such joy that he got out of the game and always shooting the breeze with guys on the bases and everything, and jib jabbering in Spanish that we couldn't understand.
Who was the one guy that always rubbed his head?
It was Manny, wasn't it? It wasn't
no,
Manny.
it was a catcher.
Oh, it was. Oh God, I get the who it was.
Remember, there was one particular catcher, I think, that always liked to rub his head.
Yeah, I don't remember. Oh, it was Victor Martinez.
That's right.
It was Victor Martinez that used to come up and rub his head.
Another Dominican.
Right, yeah. So and you'd see him sneak up in the dugout and just go like this and rub his head. Oh, jeez, don't do that. Don't do that. So, absolutely. Beltre is maybe a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he is. Yeah. My pick, this may be the hardest choice I've ever had in this game because, as we said, there are a lot of good third basemen because there aren't many in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
I have to give an honorable mention before I start to Scott Rowland. Razor thin second place. I think he will get in the Hall of Fame. Like Beltre, great hitter, great defender, maybe the best defensive third baseman of our time.
You know what I liked about him?
What?
Every time he came out to bat, I go, Rollin'.
Rollin'.
Yes,
Yeah, right. And that was his walk-up theme forever, yeah.
Rollin'.
So honorable mention to Scott Rowland. I think he'll get in. But I went with someone a little further back who you might not be as familiar with. My pick was Ken Boyer.
Good.
And we talk all the time about players relative to their era. And Ken Boyer was someone who played in the pitcher's era. So these offensive stats may not seem like much now, but at the time, they were excellent, excellent stats. He played 15 years, mostly with the Cardinals. He kind of drifted his last couple of years. He was the MVP in '64. He got votes in 7 other years. He also had 5 Gold Gloves, 282 homers, 1,100 ribbies, and 105 steals to go with a 287 average in the late 50s, early 60s, when pitchers, it was all about pitching in baseball. He was able to work walks, He had 70 walks or more 5 years in a row. He had 12 straight years where he played over 140 games. Durable as anything. You could just throw him out there every day. And Red Sox fans have a special place for him because in the 64 series, the Cardinals took out the Yankees.
That's
Now,
right.
if you remember the 64 team, they were 11 games out on August 23rd. And they went on a stretch run of 28-11, while ahead of them, the Phillies lost 9 in a row. It was one of the epic comebacks in baseball history, and that was the year Boyer won the MVP and just carried them right to the series. He also managed the Cardinals for 3 years, which not a lot of people know about, and his number 14 is retired by the Cardinals. When he retired, he had the highest slugging percentage of any third baseman ever. So that goes to show how good he was relative to his era. And he has some interesting personal stuff, too. This is really
talk
cool.
about his family.
Right. He has
His family.
He's one of 14 children. And the 7 boys of the 14
That's
kids.
why he was so fast.
Right, yeah, right. He had to outrun 13 other
Get
kids.
the lunch
right.
first.
Right. Every one of the 7 brothers played professional ball. And 2 of his brothers, Cloyd and Cleet, also played in the major leagues.
Cleet Boyer played third for the Yankees for quite a while.
Right, yeah. I didn't remember Cloyd. I didn't know him, but I knew Cleet forever.
He was a pitcher.
He was a pitcher, right, yeah. So talk about an athletic family. My God, all 7 boys played
They had to
professional
be.
ball. And something else that a lot of people don't know is that, sadly, he died from lung cancer at age 51. And he incurred an immense amount of medical bills at the time. And he was one of the driving forces from the Players Union getting pensions for retired players. That he was one of the key figures in that. After it, because they had all these fundraisers for him before and after his death for his family, and that drove the Players Union to say we need pensions after our major league time.
I think people don't realize that watch the game now and see the phenomenal amounts of money they make, that up until the mid-'70s, ball players didn't make anything.
No, they really
They had no benefits, and most of them had to work off season.
Right.
And minor league players literally
Yeah.
$40 a month.
It was your second job if you were a minor leaguer.
Pay for athletes has skyrocketed.
What was the year?
And
Reggie?
you know why? It's because of television.
Oh, of course it is. It's revenue. It's big bucks. It's a business. We talk about
right.
that. What was the year Reggie Jackson signed for $1 million and people thought it was outrageous? That's 77 maybe, or 7, I think it was mid-70s. Reggie signed for $1 million and people were outraged that he made that much
Well,
money.
there's a famous story about Babe Ruth getting $100,000. They said, that's more than the president makes. He said, I had a better year.
I had a better year. Yes, that's right. And now Mookie Betts makes $33 million.
$33 million.
But as we've talked about, it's a business, and that
right.
and when you're in the top millionth of a percent in the world at what you do, you can command that kind of salary. But Ken Boyer, look him up. Fascinating personal life, great player. I think he's a Hall of Famer. He played late 50s. I think it was 54 to 69, maybe
Just
something,
about,
in that era. Yeah.
Just before the big bucks.
Just before the big bucks, right? So look him up. Great player. Should be in the Hall of Fame. I think these are both great picks. Beltre, Boyer, and like I said, Roland just below for those 3.
And the next show we'll do left fielders.
Left fielders
And
this
there's
next
gonna
show.
Be a lot of
there are a lot of left fielders out there, folks. A lot of left fielders. I mean, the Red Sox have a pretty rich history themselves of left fielders, but they're in the Hall of Fame.
That's right.
So we won't be talking about them.
Mike Greenwell.
Yeah, the Gator. Yeah, I mean, we could get a campaign for the Gator to go. He should have been MVP in '87, after all.
That's
remember?
right.
So.
Okay, it's back to trivia answer time.
Right.
The question was, if you remember, who played the most games at third base of any ball player in the 150 years of baseball?
I'm pretty sure it's Brooks Robinson.
Absolutely.
Yes, 23 years he played, maybe 24, maybe. And he was third base every day, right till the day he retired.
Yep.
And you know what? Now that you mention it, there aren't a lot. I know he's that way. Mike Schmidt was that way. He played third base his whole career, but there aren't many. A lot of them shift around to other positions, or they DH later in their career if they're in the American League. You're right. Right.
Brooks Robinson was he was a phenomenal fielder. And I can remember in the 70 and 71 World Series making plays that you just couldn't believe.
Right.
And he wasn't like a cat-like player.
Yeah.
He was instinctive.
Right.
So if he could tell by the way the pitch was thrown how to move ahead of the guy hitting it.
Right.
And he would make plays behind third base that nobody else could.
He'd throw guys out from foul
because
territory.
He'd get that extra step to get there.
Right.
And just incredible.
Yeah. So
that he was in part of that amazing Baltimore team that had 4 pitchers that all won 20 games.
Those late 60s, early 70s Orioles.
Yeah. We never beat them.
Never beat
those guys.
The Sox would hang with them till about August, and then Baltimore would pull away every year. What was the year? Was it 74 that Baltimore went like 30-6 down the stretch and just pulled away from everybody? I think that was the last great year they had.
Fallen on hard times since.
Yeah, they really have.
There was ownership.
The
ownership they have now is not.
No, and it's too bad, because if we've talked many times, Baltimore is a great baseball town, great park, great area, great city to hang out in if you're staying in the
great
park
tradition.
area.
They were great in the 19th century.
Right, yeah. It's too bad to see them at the bottom. I mean, you never want to root for another AL East team, but I think it's too bad when you look and see them have 100 losses every year. It's really unfortunate.
Oh, well.
So
I think they're about 30 games out now.
I think they are. Yeah, I really think they
awful.
are. Yeah.
Of course, we started our season out losing our first 3.
Right. Yeah. We started 0-3 against them. So go figure.
Well, as you can tell in this show, occasionally we get off on a tangent because
occasionally
he says
we're all tangents here, folks. Yeah. We're all tangents.
Just hypotenuse.
Right.
That's all. But in the last show, we were talking about the shortstops. And Cal Ripken came up. And Jake just happened to mention something about his brother Billy.
Brother Billy,
who played a few years, never hit more than 4 home runs in a season. It was not a very, very forgettable character.
Yeah, he was a utility guy.
Sort of like Billy Canigliaro was to Tony Canigliaro.
Right.
But he was involved in one of the greatest scandals ever to hit the card industry. And Jason happened to mention a little bit offhand.
Yes.
So I decided to research it and make it a big part of this show.
Yes.
Here's the deal.
Yeah.
In 1981, Topps lost its copyright on baseball cards. Right. And several other companies started producing cards as well. Fleer and Donruss and Upper Deck.
Right.
I think there were 5 companies all putting out series of cards, and so the value of cards went right down the hopper.
Oh, I remember that.
Absolutely
I remember
nothing.
that. Yep.
Just the product was just saturated.
It was just overwhelmed. There was so much product that the market just crashed. Totally remember that.
So people bought cards expecting that they were going to be worth something.
Right.
And I can remember one of my teacher friends buying cards like mad to hopefully fund his kid's college education someday.
Yeah, right.
And you can buy a complete set of this 89 set for about $20.
Right.
The whole set.
Right, whole thing.
Except for a certain card.
There's one card in there, and as we mentioned, it's Billy Ripken.
Now here's the story. Billy Ripken was playing at Fenway Park and was taking batting practice. And the team apparently had a barrel of batting practice bats, because you don't use your gamers during batting practice.
Of course not.
And so they'd throw them in a barrel. And so to define their particular bat, they put some sort of mark on the hub of the barrel of the
at the top of the bat.
The top of the bat, the bottom of the little knob of the bat.
Right.
And he decided to put an F-bomb on.
I think it might have been his nickname, but it was a very vulgar nickname.
F-bomb face is what it was.
F-bomb face.
Okay. So he puts that on. He knows it's his bat. He goes out and he takes batting practice. And he comes back to the dugout. And it's time to go back out again. And as he's going out to bat a second time, somebody taps him on the shoulder and says, "Can I take your picture?" Without thinking, he picks the bat up like this in a regular pose. And his picture is taken, and you can see that there's the left field of Fenway behind him.
Right.
And
there he is.
the bat, he went out in batting practice, thought nothing of it. In January, he gets a fierce call from the Fleer company. "What is this you printed on your bat?
What is this F-bomb you printed?
Vulgarity that you put on it that we've been printing?"
And he didn't know.
He had no idea what they were talking about.
He had no idea.
And they sent him some. Well, the word got around to the card collecting community, and it became gold.
It was the card to get in the 89
You had
set.
to have an
You had to have an
F-bomb face
F-bomb
card.
Right.
You had to have one.
And the funny thing is that the card company went and tried to cover it up. Well, supposedly, we think there's a conspiracy theory here because if you look at the card, okay, and we can't, FCC reasons, we can't really get too much detail on TV. It looks like they sort of blacked it in a little bit because it's very clear on the knob of the bat.
And if a player is marking on his bat, he's not going to go to graphic arts school to do it.
And you've seen players' autographs. I mean, they're pretty horrible anyway. So it's highly unlikely that it would have been that clear on the end of the bat like that.
Pedroia's autograph looks like a hubcap.
Right. Right. And so we think that there is some kind of conspiracy, and they realized that there was a gold mine here to sell cards.
Right.
And so they left it in, or they had variations, as we talked about.
See, when they print cards, they print them in sheets.
Right.
Usually there's about 100 or so sheets on a card, and then it goes through a machine that chops them all up, and then they put into packs. Right. Well, there were several pressings.
Right.
And there were quite a few original pressings of the original vulgar card.
Right.
Then they decided to try to cover it up somehow. So they have a sheet. First they covered up with just a white mark.
Right. It's just got a mark on the end of the bat.
So the knob had a little white whiteout.
Dot on it, yeah.
Then they had a little scribble black.
Black mark, right.
Then they had a complete black. And then they tried to chop it somehow.
Right, remember that.
I can't figure out how they could have done that. It was
it was a big gap in the card that went about halfway through it.
Like a vertical gash.
Right.
How could they do that in a whole sheet?
I have no idea how they
I think maybe somebody just punched at it.
Probably,
somehow.
yeah, probably.
Well, I looked it up yesterday. The F-bomb face card today is worth $150.
Right.
The whiteout version is worth $1,000.
Yep.
The black version is worth $50, and the stump ones are worth a little bit less than that.
Right.
Today, 32 years later, people are still collecting this card.
Right.
There also was a bonus in that it was Ken Griffey Jr.'s rookie card.
Yes, it was. It had rated rookie right in the corner of it. I remember that.
Also, there's a rookie card in this set.
I remember it. He had the big smile on his face. He's holding the bat on his shoulder. I still remember that card.
In addition, there's a Sheffield, a Biggio, and a Smoltz rookie card. And there are Bonds, Ryan, Ripken, Canseco, Mattingly, and Henderson cards that are all worth about $10. Right. And a bonus, Randy Johnson's card had a Marlboro ad over the shoulder that they had various editions of trying to close off the Marlboro.
Oh, yeah, they blurred it out or they tinted it out depending on which variation. So that was a card that had another variation in that set, too.
So because I wanted to do this on this show, because I think this is a great story, I went online and bought 2 boxes of 1989 Fleers, untouched. Right. I opened all of one, and sure enough, it was a gold mine.
Yes.
There was the F-bomb card. There was the Griffey rookie card, and all 10 of the $10 other
amazing.
Cards. So
all in one.
If you remember last show, just for the fun of it, we opened up a pack to try to copy a book. Yeah. We're going to do it again.
Yes. Yeah. This was fun last time. We had some gold mines in the last. So here we are.
1989.
Unopened 1989 Fleer.
A couple interesting things about Fleer. They didn't have gum in their cards.
Correct. That's absolutely right.
They were just printing baseball cards.
Right. That's right.
No gum. They weren't pushing anything. And on the back of the box, they printed cards as well.
Right.
So you had to get several boxes to get
set.
all the backs.
Right. That reminds me of remember the Drake's Cakes used to do that too. Remember they had the cards in the bottom of the Drake's Cake boxes?
Inside.
I remember going in the grocery store and looking through the boxes to see if there were any we needed.
Well, getting cards and things, I can remember collecting Lone Ranger cards from Puffed Wheat.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You get a Puffed Wheat card to get the 36 Lone Ranger cards.
But at the time, the baseball card market was so huge that little things like this made all the difference.
Could make a difference.
Any angle that would get people to buy the product.
And this angle of this vulgar card went absolutely berserk.
Oh, it was.
And it still is. I couldn't believe that people are still paying.
32 years
later.
Go
on, check it out on eBay. Look for the
Bill Ripken F-bomb face, and it's right there.
Just put Bill Ripken,
anything
else, and see how many there are out there and what some people are actually asking for them.
Right.
So here we go.
Here we go. Let's open this
Let's
up.
open one.
All right.
And if we do find one that would look pretty fake. So
Yeah,
let's
this is
hope
legit, people.
This is just to see if we can recognize the folks.
Unopened boxes.
Go way down.
Because we had a couple phantoms and some really good
Let's go way
stories
down to
in
the
last
bottom
one.
here.
Wow.
Okay.
Maybe we'll have anyone who is in the last set too. That'd be pretty cool.
This is 1989.
Yeah.
Jason was 13, right at the height of knowing everything there was to know about baseball.
I was past my rookie season.
He was teaching women to score.
Yes.
If you read my book. And so I got to open it up. It's wax
here we
paxi
go.
wacko. They just seal it with wax like this. Rip it
right.
open.
Ooh, we got
and
in
notice
here.
there is no gum.
Oh, remember, was it Donruss that did the puzzle pieces
Yes.
too? Remember
Yep.
that one?
Yep.
Donruss used to have puzzle pieces, and you could take them out, and there'd be a puzzle of a player when you got all the puzzle pieces together.
This also had baseball stickers.
That's right.
Here's
The
a pirate
stickers.
sticker. So if you bought several boxes, you could get
would
all
get-
30
Yeah,
eventually.
And I don't know if Fleer did it. Some of them had manager cards too.
Yeah.
If you remember, right? So, a lot of us. I remember John McNamara had a card.
Way back, Topps did manager cards
Yes,
too.
right.
And 1 year, Bowman did umpire cards.
Did they? Oh, that's right.
1 year.
That's right. Yeah. So let's see what we
Okay,
have.
so
So
we
a
got
pirate
here.
sticker.
We'll start with the bottom one.
All right,
Pirate
let's
sticker.
go.
First one, Willie Frazier.
Willie Frazier.
Pitcher for the Angels.
I don't recall that guy very much. May have been a reliever, maybe.
Let's
I don't
see.
remember very much about him.
You got better
Well,
eyes.
let's see. 87, 88 Angels. Oh, he was a starter. Won 12 games in 88. That's a cusp of my memory banks there. I don't remember very much about
Okay,
him.
0 for 1.
I would have said Angels if you said the name, but I don't remember
0
really
for
what
1.
he did. So.
Aha.
Yeah.
Teddy Higuera.
Love this guy.
Teddy Higuera.
Teddy Higuera. Big pitcher from Mexico, mostly for the Brewers. And he had a couple years where he and Clemens were 1-2 in the league for best starters. He had a great career.
Personal story.
Yes, we have a
Personal
yes.
story. Debbie and I went to see a game, and we had seats about 3 rows behind the visiting dugout on a day that it was close to Sahara desert time. It was incredibly hot. Hottest I ever remember at Fenway. And Teddy Higuera was pitching against, was it Tiant?
No, it wouldn't have been
Wouldn't have been Tiant. Someone the Red Sox had who also was Mexican.
Oh, geez, I'm not sure.
And these two guys were out there in this sweltering heat. One went 8 innings, one went 7 innings, and we had to go back under the shade by the second inning without, we were going to pass out.
Right.
Teddy Higuera pitched on the hottest day, and it didn't bother him a bit. 18 wins, 20 wins,
Yeah,
19 wins.
he had some great years with the Brewers.
But he was like Valenzuela. You know,
And,
just could.
and I remember, I believe, when we went to see the Red Sox play the Brewers at County Stadium, was he the pitcher for the Brewers
Yes,
that day?
yes.
And Clemens beat him 1-0. I
On a
remember
home
that.
run by the Q.
Carlos Quintana hit a home run off the foul pole.
Yeah.
It was like a gong going off. And that was the only run in the game. Clemens beat Higuera 1-0.
And a little girl sitting behind us said, "Daddy, why are they rooting for the wrong team?"
That's right.
Remember that?
Yeah.
She's so
and I think
disappointed.
and I think the dad said, "That's okay. Clemens is their best." So yeah, Ted Higuera. Look him up. He had some fabulous
check
years
this
in the
one.
80s. We've talked about
Rafael
him.
Palmeiro.
Oh, he was my Hall of Fame pick. Rafael Palmeiro.
right,
He was
Rafael
with
Palmeiro.
He just came up with the Cubs. That was in
right.
his first or second year, I want to say.
And he has been dropped off the Hall of Fame ballot because of
Steroids. Yeah.
He appeared before the Congress and
Right.
said he had nothing to do with it.
Right, which was disproven later, supposedly.
He also, I think, was the most handsome man ever played in the major leagues.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I'll pull it. Oh,
That's definitely Rico Suave going here with this guy. Let's see.
this
Oh
one.
my God! Look who we got.
Jim Rice.
Jim Rice in '89. What was that? His last year? '89.
Yes.
I think that was his last year.
Jim Rice.
Yes. Yeah.
What luck.
All right.
When we went to the game the other day, we rode up in the elevator with Jim Rice.
Really?
And no one dared say anything to him. He was, we were all looking at him. That's Jim Rice.
That's Jim Rice. That's Jim Rice.
And interestingly, when you ride with him, he's not that tall.
Really?
It was surprising. He wasn't as tall as I was.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's not a big guy.
Yeah, but he could hit hard.
Oh, I wasn't going to say that to him.
Right. And we've talked before about how when Rice was a player, he did not have a great relationship with the media and how much that's changed. Now he's a guy on Nesson and he does autographs and waves in the Legends box and everybody loves him. But at the time, he had a very contentious relationship with the media.
Remember, he came from South Carolina.
Right.
And in the early 70s, civil rights in South Carolina
Right.
weren't at their peak.
Exactly.
You know, it was the same time that he came up about the same time that Aaron hit the home run.
Right, yeah, right. And there was all the busing issues in all the cities and everything. So
it took him a while to overcome the fact that Boston was not racist.
not like South Carolina was at least.
Uh-oh, we got a problem. Kurt Manwaring. I don't see him.
Catcher for the Giants. I can't say I'm familiar with him.
Kurt
Let's see.
Manwaring. Any folks out there know him?
Well, that's the year the Giants were in the World Series, right? 89.
right.
So somebody out there has to know him.
Right.
Was it 89 that the A's beat? Yes, it was. That was the earthquake year, 89.
If you remember him, you can have this card.
Yeah,
Pass it on.
I'm guessing he was probably the backup catcher on that team, I'm guessing, right?
Okay.
Yep, 40 games. So
Barry Jones.
Barry Jones, I
the
think
White
he was
Sox.
he was a reliever, I think, I want to say.
Barry
but I
Jones.
don't recall very much about him either. Let's see. He was with the Pirates for 2 years briefly and then was with the White Sox for 25 games. So Barry Jones.
Barry Jones.
I don't remember that one.
Again, if you want to go find somebody and look him up, he'll probably invite you
He'll
to
probably,
supper.
right. That's the kind of guy who'd
Oh,
invite you in.
John Franco.
Ah, John Franco. I love this guy. He was one of the nasty boys.
Yes,
If
yeah.
you remember the Reds in 90, when Piniella was the manager in the World Series, it was Franco and Dibble and Charlton were
Right.
the nasty boys out of the bullpen. And you'd hand the game off to those three guys after 5 innings and the game was over.
Yep, that's right.
And I think he's in the top 10 all-time in saves. I think he's 7th or 8th all-time because he went from the Reds to the Mets. And
Yes.
he was a closer for the Mets for a long time.
Yep, I think we talked about him.
Right, yeah, he's sort of a fringe Hall of Famer. He got some Hall of Fame votes a couple times.
Greg Swindell.
Greg Swindell was with the Red Sox one
right,
year.
that's
And I
right.
remember, what I remember about him, he was with the Indians, he was a starter, and he transitioned into one of those lefty relievers who just won't go away. Remember that?
Here's a famous guy.
Hey, Tim Tuffle. Tim Tuffle.
Do you remember what he's famous for?
86 World Series.
What did he do?
He made an error in game
right,
one.
that's
And
right.
the Sox won 1-0 on his error. And it's since come out that the 86 Mets were not the most well-behaved people. And he was one of the worst behaved on the team, supposedly. Yeah, supposedly he was an unbelievable womanizer and went out drinking with the guys every night. And
Well, he gave us a game.
he gave us game one of the World Series.
I went to the 5th game of the World Series. He had a home run off Bruce Hurst.
I remember that. Yes.
But
Yep.
we won.
We won that
Tim
game too.
Tuffle, thank you for the error.
Tim Tuffle, yeah, that's right.
Bill Pecota.
Bill Pecota, infielder for the Royals. Not ringing a bell.
Darrell Hamilton.
God, Brewers outfielder, can't say I remember him. Ron Darling. Now here's another one here. Now here's another one when you hear he's Ron Darling is a good, I'll admit he's a good-looking man. Now, Ron Darling was from Hawaii.
That's right.
And he has that constant Hawaiian tan. He was also pitcher in the '86
He's
Mets.
from Hawaii, but he went from Milford, I believe.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
Yep. Yes, and he 86 Mets pitcher as a starter,
Yep.
and I think he was the loser in the 1-0 game,
right.
if I remember right. And he now does commentary for ESPN,
And he's good.
and he's very
Very
good. Yes,
good, yep.
and he's also been in a couple movies too. Believe it or not, he's a part-time actor. Is that the manager, Ron Washington? Is that
Wasn't he? Did we have him last week?
Ron? I think we did. I think I think that's the same Ron Washington who was the manager for the Rangers later on.
Yeah.
I think that's the same guy.
a double.
Oh, it's a double.
Double
So we got you always get a double when you buy baseball wax packs. Always get a double. Here's our double, Ron Washington.
The last one? No, not the last one.
Last one.
Denny Walling.
Denny Walling. Denny Walling for the Cardinals.
No,
I don't know about
get
that one. And then
They
Dual Heat.
also sometimes would have cards where they had more than one player on it, just
Right.
with some information on it.
Right.
This is called Dual Heat.
Dual Heat.
Dual Heat. Mark Davis and Dwight.
Oh, okay. So,
Davis and Gooden.
story about if you don't know who Mark Davis is, okay. Mark Davis may be the all-time ultimate one-year fluke Cy Young Award winner. Mark Davis was a closer for the Padres, and he had this unbelievable year. I think he saved 45 games and had an ERA under 2. And as soon as that season was done, he signed a huge contract with the Royals as a free agent and did 0 after that. By the end of the year, they'd taken him out of the closer's role, and they were so desperate for him to do well, they put him in the rotation after a couple of years. So look up Mark Davis sometime. Talk about one outlier year that's going to win you a Cy Young Award. He's regarded as one of the all-time flukes.
So anyway, that's the pack. We didn't find the famous card.
No, but we did get Jim Rice. We got a Hall of Famer.
That's right.
So, and we got several other notables in there.
Tim Tuffle.
Tim Tuffle and Ted Higuera. Look up some of these guys. They have some great stories behind them.
One last thing before we sign off. It's coming up on the trade deadline, and it's pretty clear that there are going to be sellers and buyers.
Right.
There are a lot of teams that are in contention, but there are several teams that are totally out of contention.
There are a few that are really
It's
bad.
likely, given the holes in the Sox lineup, that there will be some sort of transaction before July 31st. Mm-hmm. Give me your choice.
Okay, so I actually had two. I think that Michael Chavis is trade bait, folks. I think he is a trade bait. He's a young guy. He just hasn't put it all together, but he's very tempting for a team that's trying to rebuild. So I see one of two places for him. I think he could either go to Arizona or to Texas. Now, if he goes to Arizona, I think Asdrubal Cabrera would be coming back. He's played first base the last couple of years. First base is definitely a need for the Red Sox. Mm-hmm. He's a solid veteran guy, professional hitter. I could see that trade happening, or I could see him go to Texas for some pitching.
Okay.
Maybe Fultonevich, maybe, or somebody like that, like a middle-of-the-road starter.
Everything I've read, so the Cubs are going to be sellers.
Yes.
Definitely, they're going to be dealing with their reliever.
Kimbrel is on the block.
Kimbrel is
Absolutely.
on the block.
Right.
And who played left field last night?
Oh, Bryant.
Chris Bryant.
Right.
I think the Sox are going to go for Rizzo.
Good call.
For Chavis.
Hey, look
That's
at that.
Exactly who
look
I
at
picked.
that.
Rizzo is going to be a rental.
Yes.
But they can't go any longer with the first baseman they have.
Right.
Now.
No.
None of them are working out.
No, and that's a power position.
It's a power
you
position.
should be getting offense out of that position.
And while Rizzo has got 10 home runs, and so does what they have now, he's a steady veteran player.
And keep in mind they're determined to stay under the luxury tax threshold.
That's right.
These guys are not going to cost you a lot of money in return for Chavis.
In fact, the Cubs would probably pay his salary.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because he's a free agent.
Right.
It's just a quick rental, but it's the one thing that I don't think they can make a deal for a pitcher.
Yeah.
Without some
overpaying.
And Bloom is not the kind of guy to make some blockbuster
big splash.
deal
No,
at this point.
Well, that's why I said Fultonevich. They might be able to get like a mid-rotation
Of course,
kind of guy.
they're all holding their fingers and hoping Sale can provide 6-8 weeks of pitching at the end of the season.
And we'll see. He's supposed to pitch a minor league game this week, I believe. Yeah. Supposed to throw 2 innings, so we'll see. We'll see how that happens.
That's what they're hoping for.
And they're hoping that Tanner Houck is going to come back and give some meaningful innings too. But here's the thing, folks, and I know we're running against time. Who did they displace on the pitching roster? That's the thing. It's easy to say, oh, Sale can come back. Who do you move out of the rotation at that point? Do you put Perez in the bullpen at that point? Do you put Richards in the bullpen at that point? So it's a Jenga thing. You can't just put a guy in and say, hey, they'll be better. Yeah. There's a roster to play with. There's a 40-man roster, and you have to have an equivalent move to put somebody on the roster.
I'm going with Richard.
Put Richards in the bullpen?
Yeah. Yep.
And let the boat sail on Andres and have Richards be your multi-inning guy.
Yep.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
So, folks, hope you enjoyed the show.
Yes, we're running against the clock.
And if you get a chance to find a Billy Ripken card,
yes,
hang on to it.
Good luck, folks. And thank you all for watching. We appreciate all of our audience out there. And let us know. Give us some feedback. You can catch us on YouTube, some of our past episodes.
We'll be back in August to talk about left fielders. And hopefully the Sox will still be where they are now.
Yes.
So,
all right. From sweltering Channel 9 studios, take care.
See you anon.
Bye.
for watching another outstanding program provided to you by Lunenburg Public Access. We're here to serve the community. Lunenburg Public Access is always looking for volunteers to help record town events, high school sports, and town meetings. Please consider helping us out today. To contact us, you can call 617-763-3018 or email us at lunenburgaccess@gmail.com. Thank you.